Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Desi, and today I am back with you to talk about a show that I have been a big fan of, or I should say, I've become a bigger fan of since its initial release. I think like it was 2019. And this is the show Yellowstone with Kevin Costner, who is the lead role. And now we're in season 5, and there was a dispute between the showrunner Taylor Sheldon and Kevin Costner. It did not get resolved, and so Kevin Costner is no longer on the show. So I wanted to talk about season 5, part 2. I think it was episode 8 or something like that. It just came out, it released yesterday. I watched it on CBS or Paramount, and I have some thoughts. So, with all that being said, this is obviously a spoiler warning. Um, I don't think I really need to get into that too much, but I put the graphic up here just in case. And the show starts off with Beth essentially finding out that something bad happened to John Dutton, Kevin Costner. We all knew this was coming. It's pretty dramatic, and of course, the actress who plays Beth is really good. Casey shows up too, and right off the bat, there's already weird inconsistencies. Like, and I know I'm gonna be kind of nitpicky with some of the things because I got really bothered. Like, one of them was Beth is like going to try to see her dad, and like the state patrol guy or the officer who's around the governor's office won't let her go see him, and she just stands there like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening yet. She just keeps trying to call him, and like that's not the Beth Dutton that I know. Like, she just would have stormed in there and told him to F off. In fact, when Casey shows up, that's exactly what he does. And it's like, why didn't Beth do that? Like, when has Beth ever taken no for an answer? And she finds out, like, she knows already that something bad is happened to her dad. And kind of a lengthy scene. And we all knew this was coming. And basically, it's framed that he try to use a YouTube safe word, self-destructed. Yeah, self-destructed. Which doesn't make any sense. So right off the bat, it's just the whole pacing of this episode right from the get-go seemed really off. Like, the characters seemed off. Well, Casey seemed like Casey, because that's just... Casey's always consistent in his demeanor. But Beth is like between being super mad and super sad, and it's like, oh, you don't want to see your dad, and it's just like, and they framed it like he self-destructed essentially, and it was like pretty gruesome, and there's like a body double of Kevin Costner or whatever, and it just doesn't make any sense. Like he's under like impeachment, like there's bad stuff going on with Jamie. And speaking of which, that is the next subplot, is this stupid relationship that I hate with Jamie and this girl who's like so obviously trying to sabotage the situation, but Jamie's just like so allured that he can't like think about anything. And like in the previous episode, like 2 years or a year and a half ago, he's like, hey, my sister's gonna come after me. And like he just took out his dad. Jamie took out his real like life dad because Beth basically gave him an ultimatum. And that whole thing doesn't make sense because Jamie actually has a kid. And like the woman who had his kid was his campaign manager, and then she just like disappeared. That's another like flaw in logic of the show. It's just like the show is like it has so many holes in it, it's turning into Swiss cheese. But basically Sarah, the girl that Jamie is allured with, that's was basically hired to come in and cause all this chaos. She goes and hires a company to take John Dutton out, Kevin Costner. And first of all, I get they had to get rid of Kevin Costner, but why wouldn't Jamie go for Beth first? Beth is the one who's out for him. Like, she's the most immediate threat, and she's like the most careless and reckless one, and the one that's willing to do the most rash action. She's the higher up on the threat meter than John Dutton is, his stepdad or whatever, his dad who adopted him. And he like suggests that like, hey, maybe I need to go on the offense, and so Sarah Atwood just goes and does it for him, which was, I get she's trying to sow chaos, but why wouldn't she have done this before? Like, why did she wait until? I guess she's just trying to sow discontent, but it's a little bit inconsistent on my part. But obviously, she doesn't even really, and there it was so cringe too. Like when she went to engage the assassins or whatever, they like had a laptop of like her and Jamie going at it, and it was awful. And it's like scarred into my memory now. And that was completely unnecessary. And they like showed it for like 30 seconds, and it's just like, why are you doing this? I don't know. I guess they're just trying to make it spicy. But basically, they're like, okay, well, we're gonna make it seem like he took himself out. But even Sarah's like, well, that's not John Dutton. That's not who he is. So it's one of those situations where the logic is flawed, but they're gonna go through with it anyway. Like, oh, we can't make it seem like he had a heart attack because then the doctors will come in and do an autopsy and find out there's something that triggered it. It just seems really like lazy writing to me, how they couldn't have thought of something else. Like make it seem like somebody took him out. And like, yes, even in the meeting, like there are a lot of people who want to take John Dutton out. Like, but Jamie's obviously the number one. But again, why wouldn't he go for Beth first? So I'm not a big fan of that whole dynamic. Jamie does seem like torn up about it. And of course, he goes back, and Sarah's like waiting for him in like lingerie, and he's all upset because he lost his, he still has sentiments for his stepdad, and he's upset. And she's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're upset." It's just like it's the most tone deaf thing ever. Like she's like waiting for him with champagne and lingerie, like it's gonna be a celebration. Like Jamie has no remorse, and he's supposed to be happy about it. And then she gives like some like kind of really scripted, very tone deaf speech about how like Jamie's a lion, like eating the older lion or whatever. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. Um, but anyways, and then we get to, so they do like flashbacks too, which was really kind of weird because the show would be going on. It's like Beth is like crying in her brother's arms, and she calls Rip to come back. And like Rip is gonna be like the one who has to carry the rest of the show, to be honest, because I think, and I did a tier list of him that you can reference earlier in this channel. But without Kevin Costner, I just really feel like the show lacks a lot of direction. And Cole Hauser, the actor who plays Rip, is really gonna have to step up into that role, which I think he can because he's my favorite character in the show. But the writing just does not feel like, I don't care what the acting is, you cannot overcome bad writing. And I do not like the writing. And I get that Kevin Costner leaving the show completely threw a wrench into everything, but there's a lot of work they need to do. But anyways, aside from that, Rip essentially is in Texas. There's also a flashback of when he's driving down. And there's flashbacks in the show. It's like they're like trying to cram as much as they can of like a year and a half of stuff into one episode. And also like John Dutton being gone and passing away doesn't feel like it should have the same gravity. It doesn't feel like it has the gravitas that it should, or gravitas. Like obviously Beth is distraught, but Casey's like shedding a couple of tears, and Rip hears the news, and he's, instead of being like super pissed off, he's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm heading back." And There's like a montage of him like hauling butt all the way back to Montana, but it doesn't have the impact that you would think it did. And he gets in Texas. There's a whole thing of flashbacks of him being in Texas, and it's like he goes to the 4 6s, and there's a whole bunch of dialogue. And he gets some new spurs from a spur maker, which is like a cameo before the guy passed away, who made these super old school spurs, which is kind of cool. But overall, them being in Texas is just I don't know. Maybe I'm just already like the rose-colored goggles have been removed because I expected something, and like right from the get-go, I was disappointed. So everything past that was just like, okay, this is just poor. But yeah, it just felt really cliched and scripted. The conversations with Rip and Beth, and I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't convinced of it. Yeah, I don't know how to put it, but you had like Teeter and some of the others there in Texas, and they're like doing their joking or whatever like they normally do, but it just felt cliched at this point. The episode didn't sit right with me. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. I did not like the writing. I did not like the acting. Outside of a couple of things, I didn't even really find myself laughing or crying. Even when John passed away, who was like one of my, was one of my favorite characters up to that point in film, it just didn't have the impact and the gravitas that I would have wanted. I didn't feel it. Like the only time that I really got like even close to feeling anything was when Rip finally drove back from Texas, and then Beth like runs out and runs into his arms, and like you really feel like the acting there. It was really good, obviously with Cole Hauser and the lady who plays Beth, because Beth is just like finally able to release her tension and her sadness with her husband, because I think they're married, and that I felt, and that was near the very end. So at least there was that. But like overall, if I were to give this like out of 5 stars, I'd say that this is like 2 out of 5 stars. This is one of the. I don't know how they're going to go forward with this. I mean, I'll keep watching. I'll watch the next one, but if I don't see like an improvement or an upward trend, I might be done with this show. Cause, and I'll get into it now. The theory is like obviously Jamie isn't going to be around. And unfortunately, Jamie is one of my favorite actors in this, but he's clearly been shoehorned into this villain role. And now that John Dutton's gone, I should have put like a X over him. But and like Casey's always been kind of on the fence of whether Jamie's evil or not, but Beth has been convinced all along, and Beth has literally always been just triggering him. And I was always hoping for some sort of reconciliation between Beth and Jamie, but it's clear that that's never going to happen, and Jamie's got to go. And I guess the question is, because I think they can't just get rid of Jamie. Jamie is one of the component parts of the show, and the show is already missing its main piece. And you take out Jamie, and you've got Casey and Beth. Jamie, in my opinion, is second best outside of Rip. Like Jamie and Rip, I believe, with their acting, carry the show. Beth is good. Obviously, I love the actress that plays Beth and everything, and she's convincing, but like she's also like unstable and erratic, and she just does stupid crap, and she's scripted weird. And Casey is just Casey. Like Casey's just like a pretty face, to be honest. And like the whole dynamic between Casey and Monica is just like whatever. I also didn't mention what's going on with the I think his name is Drinkwater and Mo Moses or whatever, the Native Americans who are trying to stop the pipeline. And they indicated there'd be some sort of alliance between them and Jamie, so this is going to turn into some war or whatever. And I mean, it's obviously who's going to win. It's going to be Casey and Beth. You're not going to just get rid of all the Duttons, or at least all the true born Duttons. And I think what it'll be, if I were to guess, just based on the, writing thus far, is that Jamie's probably going to take out find out that Sarah Atwood is like a place or a spy and put in there to market equities to cause and sow havoc. Like he hasn't been able to think that so far because he's been thinking it with the wrong part of his body because he's an idiot. And he's gonna find out and he's gonna take her out. But by then it's gonna be too late. And Beth is gonna, or I think Rip's probably gonna be the one who takes out Jamie. To be honest, Jamie's probably gonna go try and hide, and Rip's gonna track him down and take him out. That's my prediction. And then like once you get rid of Jamie, you've gotten rid of you've gotten rid of John Dutton and Jamie Dutton, and the show. I just don't know how it goes on from there. But anyways, let me know what your thoughts are on this. This is just something I kind of did spur of the moment. I didn't really put a whole lot of I didn't put a whole lot of time into like doing like grand theories and everything else. I just wanted to share my thoughts, and depending on how this is received, I'll do a more in-depth analysis of it. But anyways, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe if you liked this 15-minute monologue I went on about this show. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.